Hello people, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. This is Sorin and today I want to talk about the vehicle changes and rebalancing happening in update 1.22. There are some vehicles that are gonna be rebalanced, premium vehicles, tier 5 to tier 8, some tier 10s, some reward vehicles, so you better don't miss this video out. So there's a lot to talk about and we better go straight ahead into the premium. So there are some popular premium tanks, some of them that you can get for in the bond store. Some of them are very old, such as the T25 Pylon number 1, which is a vehicle I haven't seen on the battlefield for ages. Probably now people are gonna start playing them once again. Some bad ones like the Prima Ventoria and the STRB 81, Centurion A51 RAC, which once again is very generic. It's very iconic, such as the AV202 and the Turtle Mark 1. Personally, I really love the Turtle. I think that is the best vehicle out here in this list, and I feel like it doesn't really need a buff, to be honest. But let's see what they have to offer next. Starting off with the T26 E5 and the E5 Patriot. I think it has the skin, the Patriot. This vehicle is getting 10% top speed, which I welcome, because this vehicle, I have this vehicle, but it is very, it's very basic. It doesn't have nothing special. It doesn't have the best mobility. It doesn't have the best gun. I mean, 240 on a heavy tank, it's worse than medium tanks, for example, some light tanks as well. Actually, no, it's the same as a light tank, sorry for that. But 5 km/h top speed, it is always welcome, means you don't need to use a turbocharger anymore. Reverse speed, 2 km/h, once again, making it very mobile and very flexible. Dispersion during movement and hull traverse minus 0.07. This is huge. This is like 33% dispersion decrease. It is very big. I mean, 0.22 used to be. I mean, this is why this vehicle was. I never loved it, because the gun was never. It's what millimeter is it? It's like 80 millimeter or something like that. It's a 76 millimeter. Actually, I don't even know. This is actually, it's 90 millimeter. I think it has to be 90 millimeter. But for a 90 millimeter to have the same dispersion as some vehicle get on a 140, 150, yeah, this is not good gun handling. But now they're gonna make it very playable, and probably I'm gonna take my T26 E5 for a spin. The hull traverse speed is gonna go up by 5 degrees, which is always welcome. They're gonna make it a bit more mobile, a bit more nimble on the battlefield, and once again, for a low caliber gun to have your dispersion for 0.38, that was a joke. Now it's gonna be 0.36, which is gonna be competed with the 120, 100 millimeters, but still is gonna be it's not gonna be the best accurate, but obviously have really good shell velocity, so you can make some use of that. You can snipe at long ranges and so on and so forth. And on top of that, the aiming time is gonna get a bit of love. Yeah, I feel like the dispersion is gonna really help this vehicle, the mobility, but as far as I remember, neither the armor was really good on this vehicle. Now it's gonna be more of a medium kind of heavy tank. It's gonna be more nimble, it's gonna be more of a support role, and probably it's gonna get, it's not gonna be the most popular, but it's still gonna be more enjoyable to play, because obviously after this buff I'm gonna take my T26 E5 for a spin. And as far as I remember, the 3 mark expectation for this vehicle was something very small, like, I don't know, 2600 or something like that. It was very below average. So this explains why this vehicle it's not doing that well on the battlefield. But what I remember, it has kind of good view range, because I'm using coded optics and I can get up to 445 with this. But that is probably my place. Next, one of my first tier 8 premium tanks, that is the MX M4 MLE49, and on top of that the Liberty is getting buff as well. And what they have to offer, well, The dispersion is also getting a bit low. This is 100 millimeter. Yeah, it used to be by dispersion 0.22. Now dropping it down to 0.18. You kind of still need to use vertical stabilizer to, you know, to make this tank work. But yeah, it's still not gonna be as bad as before. Personally, I hate the gun handling on this vehicle. It is always so trolly. I don't know why, but it's something very specific about this vehicle. You aim, you miss, you snap, you hit. But a big thumbs up for this vehicle. 232 meters of AP pen or standard pen. It is very good. You don't really need to aim. You don't really need to fire the gold. And this vehicle is making quite a good credits for me. I really love because it's the upper plate is very good, the lower plate is very good, the turret is very good, but it has a cupola. Side armor is very bad, and pretty much you want to focus one vehicle at a time. If you're gonna face hack someone, yeah, you're gonna be the boss. The view range, 20 meters extra view range on this vehicle. Whew, that's gonna be very big improvement. Now you can use, you can make this vehicle instead of a damage dealer. You can actually have a build for scouting. Well, not for scouting, but for defending yourself at longer distances. Now you can see your enemies with 390 meters view range. So probably you want to use. If you're gonna have a good crew, you could probably now use like dropping the coded optics if you have been using it for events. Aiming time is also getting some low from 2.9 seconds all the way to 2.5, and the dispersion on turret traverse it's gonna be 0.12, so meaning you can actually snap pretty good with this vehicle if you're using the vertical stabilizer. As far as I know, the mobility of this vehicle was average for a heavy, and it was also a good rammer. So those changes are kind of welcoming. It's gonna make it better, but not that good. I mean, it's gonna make it. It's gonna be perfect in my opinion. Next, the T25 Pilot 1. This tank is gonna get some penetration low, 16 millimeters of standard shell all the way to 208, and 25 on its special shell penetration. This is so old school. I believe this was back in 2017. It was something like a marathon, because I don't remember having a tier 7 to do 3000 damage back in the days. I remember there was a mission to do 3000 damage, and I didn't have a tank to do that in, and this is why I don't have the vehicle today. Standard shell velocity increased and special shell velocity increased. The penetration, it's a good improvement on top of the shell velocity, but by the looks of it, I don't think that this vehicle needs any view range, some mobility, or anything like that. Once again, as I said, it's not a popular vehicle, so probably this is why they're not looking that serious towards this. But once again, I'm happy with the changes. The Centurion 5.1 is getting some dispersion on movement and on hull traverse, back from 0.18 all the way to 0.14. Good change, because obviously this is 83.4 millimeter or something like that. It's a 5-inch or whatever it is. No, it's not a 5-inch. It's a 3-inch, or I don't even know what gun it's using, but it is a 230 damage gun for sure. And once again, having such a bad dispersion on a small caliber gun is questionable, but now they're gonna be reducing it on some veterans. I remember this vehicle was really popular back in 2019, because it had it was very flexible and it had some turret armor, which I believe they switched the meta to hull down tanks. I believe that was. The same goes to the STRV-81. Once again, 230 alpha damage gun, getting from 0.20 all the way to 0.1 for dispersion. I don't really know why they gave first time those vehicles such bad gun handling, but now by the looks of it, they are fixing their mistakes. It's the same for the FF0202. Well, by the looks of it, yeah. By the looks of it, all 80 3.4 millimeter actually, and I am actually gonna talk BS over here. All 230 millimeter or 230 damage gun used to have 0.20 or 0.18 dispersion, which is very questionable. As I said, it has very bad gun handling for the caliber. But this vehicle is getting 400 meters view range, ladies and gentlemen, starting with a brand new 1.22 patch and 5 seconds shaved on its base reload. So this vehicle is gonna get it's gonna be more of a support role. You can now scout, you can be the second line of scouting, and now you're gonna have a more flexible gun with some more DPM to put. Not a lot, but still, you're gonna have 8 seconds reload, which means roughly 1900 something base, which is decent for a medium tank. Next, the last but not least from the premium category, it is gonna be the Turtle Mark 1. This vehicle is very good and it's very competitive if you're taking it to the right spot, because sometimes you might end up going on a wrong flank when you find no one and you end up doing 0 damage, and it's frustrating. But now you don't have to be frustrated anymore, because this vehicle is getting 5 km an hour top speed bonus, which means with the turbocharger now you can go from 20 back in update 1.21 to 30 with a turbocharger in update 1.22, which is, I think it's a bit too much for this vehicle. This vehicle should not be able to go 30 km an hour. It should be possible to go 27, but 30 is a bit too fast. And also the reverse speed is getting buffed by 2 km an hour. With the turbocharger, it should go backwards 15 km an hour, which is quite fast for such a vehicle. On a ridge line, it's gonna be very competitive, and on top of that, very hard to deal with. Now you can wiggle, you have the mobility to move around. But also they don't change anything about the horsepower per ton, which is good. But obviously, if you're using the turbocharger, that will get you 1 horsepower per ton extra. So yeah, the dispersion is gonna be dropped significantly from 0.25 all the way to 0.18. Because this vehicle was so slow, I didn't actually knew that this vehicle has 0.25 dispersion. Because it was so slow, it never blew out. On top of that, you have very good aiming time. You could just like stop for 2 seconds and your aiming time will be shrinked. With the dispersion, I don't know why they're doing it. 0.25 was perfect for me, but with 0.18, this vehicle is gonna be very, very nice to maneuver around the map. And you have all the gun handling, all the mobility. You're gonna get some standard penetration by 16 millimeter up to 240. What a World of Tanks, what are you doing with this vehicle? 240 on your standard, which means now you will not be able to, spam gold. With 240 you can go through reliable some lower plates as well, some tier 9 lower plates, some tier 10 lower plates as well. So yeah, one of my biggest frustration about this vehicle was I was not able to penetrate the enemies reliable. Now, by the looks of it, with special penetration to up to 270, that's the same as you'll get on IS-3, IS-3A, IS-5 Heat, what's there as well, IS-3A Heat, Object 703 version 2, and so on and so forth. So yeah, 270, it's gonna be more, you're gonna penetrate more enemies, but they will not be able to penetrate you back. Standard shell velocity up to 1050 meters, 250 meters. What we're doing here? Okay. This is not good. Your standard shell velocity is gonna be what you have now on your gold round on your base here. You're gonna get in the next patch as your AP. Yeah, this vehicle will be very competitive at long range. It's gonna be able to snipe. It's gonna be able to maneuver around the map. You're gonna have a very good upper plate. You can go, if you get the cooldown complete, you can go up to 300 plus meters of armor. Turtle. A bit too much love for the turtle in my opinion, but because people don't buy it, I believe this is why, because it was too slow and no one likes the T95 and the tortoise. Actually, they like the tortoise because it has the DPM. Yeah, this tank has 3000 something DPM. Insane, insane, insane. Moving on with the tech 3 vehicles. The Churchill one. Dispersion during movement, by the looks of it, they're gonna decrease it by a slight notch. And on top of that, when the vehicle is turning, they're gonna give it some more accuracy, some better, just tiny bit of accuracy, and the aiming time is gonna be decreased on the 75mm Vickers gun. It's a tier 5. I don't really know what to say about it, but obviously it's a Churchill. It was bad, but they don't give it anything special like mobility or armoring. But it is what it is. It is a buff. I cannot really complain it. I cannot cry about it. And yeah, let's move on to the tier 6. The Churchill 7. This vehicle is actually gonna get some top speed buff by 5 km an hour. That's quite big. Reverse speed 2 km an hour, which is once again very respectable. Some better gun handling by the looks of it. Aiming time and dispersion during entire traverse, which means your reticle is not gonna bloom as much when you're gonna turn your reticle. I really like those buffs on the Churchill 7. They look like they're gonna give this vehicle a bit of life. Not the most, but still, that mobility is gonna help this vehicle a lot. The Black Prince. This is a tier 7. Once again, some top speed love, some reverse speed, the same as you get on the tier 5. The tier 6. The same buffs you get on the dispersion, reloading time buff by the looks of it, because I think the tier 6 and the tier 7 has slightly the same DPM, like around 2000-ish. So this should make the Black Prince a bit special by going up a tier. But 10% better rate of fire on your 17 pounder. What is that 17 pounder? I think it's the 150 damaging gun. And on top of that, aiming time, the dispersion during traverse. This vehicle is gonna get very nice gun handling by the looks of it. You're gonna have better mobility, better DPM, and on top of that, better gun handling. Will make this vehicle overpowered? Well, no. Will this make this vehicle playable? Yes. And on top of that, it's gonna be a better experience to go up the tree or towards the Super Conqueror. Next, we have a tank destroyer that is from France. This is the AMX ACMLE 46. Tier 7 is, which by the looks of it is gonna get some frontal hull armor buff. Probably only the hull armor, not with the horn, so there's not really a big point of, probably it's gonna be for the people that auto aim to this gun, but to this tank, but not a big of a problem. They're gonna get some dispersion on the not turreted tank destroyer. I don't know what to say about the dispersion, because obviously you have to stop and you really don't turn that with that turret that much. I mean, you possibly, because obviously some vehicle can turn either 40 degrees to the left, 40 degrees to the right, and some of them can turn 5-5. So most of the ones that have a really short arc will really benefit for those dispersion movement. But yeah, not the biggest buffs for this vehicle. Some aiming time, actually kind of enjoy the aiming time on the 100mm. That is the 300 damage to 32. I think it's the same gun that you are using on the MX MLE 49 that I mentioned earlier. So quite good gun for a tier 7. But once again, not to break this vehicle. Next, we have an AMX 65T. Ooh, this vehicle was nerfed. This vehicle was buffed. Then it was nerfed. Then now it's getting buffed once again. I don't know what they're doing with this vehicle, but upper glacier effective armor. up to 220, so pretty much you're gonna get 220 of effective armor on your front, which means you might be able to deflect, some standard shells, but yeah, only standard shells, not premium shells. You get 1 degree on your traverse. It's above at the end of the day. You get some more view range, which is 300 meters, 380 meters. Is that good? Yeah, probably is good for a heavy tank, but nothing really out of the world. Like the premium version, the MX-10 now gets 390 meters view range. You get better DPM on your 120 millimeter and some penetration extra on your 120 millimeter, which is good. Yeah, will make this vehicle more playable. But I remember they nerfed the mobility, or I don't remember what they nerfed. So yeah, the MX-65T is still gonna be that vehicle where you can suffer at tier 8. Next, another tier 8 is the VK 4502 Aus A. This vehicle is leading towards the Panzer Krampfwagen 7. Yes, it's the Panzer 7. I have never played this vehicle, but by the looks of it, it used to be very bad, and it's getting buffed, I think, everywhere except mobility. Better gun handling, better DPM by kind of a lot, better dispersion, better accuracy on the 105mm, which is the top gun. Better aiming time, better hit point. Well, not most hit points, but still better hit points. Better effective armor on your upper plate. Yes, on your upper plate. A better turret armor 260, which is flat, so it's not gonna be the most, but actually, yeah, it's gonna be really helping this vehicle because it used to be 185 and even tier 7 standard shells. If they were rolling high, they could penetrate the turret of this vehicle because it's very flat, and the cheeks were buffed as well. Yeah, this vehicle will be brought back to life, and it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be more competitive because you're gonna have kind of good DPM. Mobility, I'm not really sure about the mobility, how this vehicle handles like, but it's it's a front mounted turret tank, and you can do some reverse side scrape, I think. Yes, maybe you can do that, but I do not recommend. Next, the T69. You get better mobility. You get better what's this? Better gun handling. You get better aiming time. You get better penetration by quite a lot. They rounded a bit up those numbers and they made it a bit better. And on top of that, you get some better DPM. The T69, it's a meme time about the commodity just because it is very unreliable and very bad. Hopefully with those buffs are gonna be making it a bit better. With the reloading time, sure they will. With the penetration, sure they will, and the aiming time, because the shell intraclip, I think it's at 2 seconds or 2.3 or 2.5. It will really help the vehicle out. And on top of that, with the dispersion, you still will need to aim between shells, but it's still a buff. So T69, once again, I'm happy from this. The Pershing M26, better aiming time, better dispersion by quite a bit on the 90mm, and better standard shell penetration. That's actually very good, from 190 all the way to up to 212. That's very good because you don't need to rely on gold ammo that much. With the 258, I think it is the penetration on this special shell, and the reloading speed all the way from 8.2 seconds down to 6.8. Ooh, this vehicle is gonna pack some DPM after the new update. The M26 Pershing, I skipped this vehicle when I headed towards the M48 pattern, but probably now I'm gonna play this vehicle a little after those buffs. The M41, Walker Bull, will this vehicle get its 10 shell clip back? Well, probably no. But it's gonna get some penetration increase. The same goes with the gold pen, not by a lot, by 5 milliliters each, but it's still something. You're gonna have much better TPM, but also with 10% better TPM. 0.38 used to be the accuracy, now down to 0.35, more acceptable. And on top of that, a better aiming time, probably because the Sherman got buffed some while ago, so therefore this vehicle should meet the requirements to, head toward that vehicle. Once again, good buffs in my opinion for this underplayed vehicle. Next, the 8015. Ooh, the Tech 3 vehicle is gonna get some love as well, but it looks to be the same as the Turtle, the same as the Turtle. 25 km/h top speed with a 12 backwards, good dispersion. A little bit of love on the dispersion, and you're gonna get armor behind the gun mantling up to 227, which means you'll not be able to penetrate this vehicle here anymore. Lovely buff over here. Next, the 110. Oh, this vehicle is gonna get some DPM buff by quite a little, some dispersion, some accuracy, some aiming time, and some really on the lower plate they're gonna buff that. Okay, interesting stuff to know. 110, it's in my opinion a worse IH3, but who am I to judge? The 5.8 was not popular anymore because they added the object 277. But once again, the 5.8 is a very nice tank, the 1.4 it's a really nice tank, and the 110 probably now is gonna be more it's gonna look more like a son of those vehicles mentioned earlier. And that was all with the tier 5 to 8. Now let's take a look at the actually the 6 tier 10s. We're not gonna read all of that because it's gonna take some time. And the first vehicle, the VZ113 GFT. This vehicle is really known for its hit pen of 395, 295 on AP, and 1100 damage on HE with 90 meters of pen. The vehicle is kind of sluggish. The vehicle doesn't have the best armor versus premium rounds, but it's a damaging tank destroyer, and that is really respectable. The vehicle is gonna get a big buff towards its specific power to weight ratio. It's gonna get better top speed by the looks of it with 2 km/h, up to 40 to be, rounded. Standard shell velocity to us, AP with 760 meters. Yeah, I remember this vehicle having a shell that you could not really snipe with. Now with 960 should be just fine, but your hit round are gonna be still very slow. You're gonna have some reload time decreased, which probably will make this vehicle more popular than something like the T110E3, because that vehicle's DPM went down a bit. So yeah, this vehicle should have around 2700 something each DPM, which is just fine for a tier 10 with 152 meters of main armament, and on top of that, very big buff over here with the dispersion. I personally, for a 152 millimeter, will feel very good with 0.38, but the dispersion of 0.36 will make this vehicle more all round suitable to engage the enemies. Next, the buff for the Object 268 version 4 is gonna be only on the hull traverse speed, which means you can now turn quicker, but you will not be able to turn quicker because your power to weight ratio is going down, your top speed is going down by quite a lot, by 10 km/h. You are losing some hit points, and the rangefinder cover, which I think it's either this one or this, are going to get some nerfs as well with the penetration, with the armor to say so. This vehicle. Yeah, but the looks of it, the Yellow Wagon era, the ramming era, it's done, which means, there's always the tier 9 that you can enjoy with. But yeah, the vehicle was very popular, it was very competitive, and you don't have the best DPM. You have really good penetration, but not the best DPM. But obviously, you weigh 70 tons. You could go 50 kilometers an hour. You had really good power to weight ratio. You had some hit points. You had really good frontal armor. You could literally do 1000 damage towards mediums, and there are some heavy tanks if you had control impact and all the accessories. Personally, I feel like it's a fair balance towards the objectives. Probably a bit too much, but probably eventually they're gonna buff them back up if the community is not happy with the buff. ST2, oh boy, I actually get some ST2 action. The vehicle is the same as the IS4 theoretically, but it's worse. The IS4 is very good. It has a really good armor, reliable gun, and by the looks of it, the ST2 will do the same. Now we're gonna turn a bit fast the turret. I remember, yes, having a very sluggish turret. You're gonna get 350 meters of all around turret, excepting the cupola, which in my opinion it's a good update. The intra clip reload is gonna be dropped to 4 seconds instead of the 5. Gun reload time is gonna be dropped from 11.7 all the way to 11.2, which roughly should give this tank some slight DPM. Not by a lot, but quite a bit. Lovely this for the ST2 personally. And the VZ55 is gonna have their balls cut finally, and they're gonna increase the reloading time between shots to up to 2.5 seconds. Oh, this vehicle is not gonna be able to burst that much. The gun reloading time is gonna go up from 22 to 2.25 seconds. Ooh, that's a big DPM hit for this vehicle, both with the intra clip and both with the reloading time. And on top of that, the aiming time. The aiming time will not really make such a big will not hit this vehicle as much because it has very good gun handling. And when you have very good gun handling, your aiming time doesn't really depend that much on that. Because if you have bad gun handling but good aiming time, then it's the same as having a bad aiming time with good gun handling. So it evens them out. But yeah, play the VZ55 with a 2-second intra clip whilst you can. And last but not least, a nerf that has been waited for years, and probably the game lost so many players because of this. They're finally nerfing the chieftain. Not by a lot, but they're gonna have a hit on something that you will not expect. And that is, well, first of all, the mobility. You can put a turbocharger, you can put a bone turbocharger, and it's back up. The same goes with the hull traverse speed. If you have the turbocharger, it will go back up. No point, but the reloading time is gonna go from 10.5 all the way to 12 seconds. Yeah, this vehicle is not gonna be able to chop the enemies as much, but it will still do. Not as fast, but it will still do. There is probably not yet a texture where they're gonna increase the cupola on this vehicle, so it's still gonna be very dangerous. But an interesting nerf is gonna be towards the penetration, 311. Yeah, probably 300 will be best for both of these vehicles, but yeah, with 300 level, we will not be able to penetrate your enemies as reliable or as much if you're gonna fire the gold. 300 should be just fine, you know, because there are good players that are playing the vehicle. They know where to aim, they know where the weak points, they know how to use the game mechanics and everything like that. And on top of that, you can just stay hold down and nothing will penetrate you. So yeah, good nerfs on the chieftain in my opinion, with the DPM, the penetration, and the mobility. But nothing all about the gun handling. Next, object 279 early. Once again, this vehicle is very controversial because good players got it. There are people that don't have it. There are people that are bad at the game. They are not using the premium runs, and they get angry about it. And after that, after they complete the battle, not the battle pass, the campaign, they get this vehicle and say, I'm the best. This is the best vehicle ever. But it's getting nerfed. Quite a margin, like hit points wise, you're gonna get less hit points. You get worse TPM by the looks of it. You get some top speed nerf. Now you can use once again a turbocharger to have the speed back up, and special shell penetration from 340 to 320, which means yeah, this vehicle is not gonna be able to penetrate itself frontally as it used to be. Neither it will penetrate um, enemies as it used to be, but its hit can travel with no loss of penalty on penetration, actually with no penalty on penetration over any distance. It can overmatch 40-meter plates, so it's still quite a dangerous round, and it's still an iconic vehicle. It will still go it will still do as good as they used to, but you know, there's having like a little bit of margin on what their potential can be. Anything else? Well, by the looks of it, no. This was all the vehicle changes and rebalancing. This was a long video. I got my mouth sore. So yeah, recording for 36 minutes. I believe this was everything I had to say about this rebalancing. And guys, if you have spend the time with me, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you legends around with probably some gameplay about the brand new vehicles that are being buffed.